I still need to get used to the. Oh yeah, I see the recording. Oh, recording in progress. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So James, please let me know when we can start. Okay.
Yeah, you can probably go ahead and start since we're already running a little late. There's a couple more people that said they are going to join, but I don't see them on yet.
So we have a small group, James. So maybe we can start with some introductions.
Yeah, I can start with myself first. I think those that are logged in know me, although there's one logged in as a guest, so I'm not sure who that person is.
Mystery guest.
A mystery guest. But Walter, I don't think I've spoken with you before. Hopefully you can hear me and see the screen as well. But my name is James Thomas, and I run the assistant software operations for US and Canada. And we recently introduced some functionality that was very important for one of our customers, and we felt that it was a good addition and enhancement to PSA. And it's also got applicability outside of a traditional professional services environment. So I thought it was important to draw some focus to this functionality, especially if you are in that area and dealing with sales opportunities that perhaps may be looking for this type of functionality. And so that's really the purpose of this call. And then, Martijn, you want to do an introduction as well?
So yes, my name is Martijn van der Hoede. I'm the CEO and founder of Assistant Software, and my main focus is enterprise deals, and I'm also the solution architect of the solution of the PSA suite. And one of the enterprise deals we're talking about today is Fucro Engineering. You can look it up at fucro.com, and it's a 12,000 employee company, market leader in survey engineering, and they are in more than 35 countries. And they're deploying PSA suite worldwide. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the specifics of that engineering firm because they're focused as an engineering firm on the oil and gas industry. So maybe we can start with some other introductions. We start with Rob. Robert, can you maybe introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Robert Howdeshell, Director of TriBridge PSA. I have been working with Assistant Software for 2.5 years now and have been following the progression. I look forward to seeing what you guys have done for Fucro. Something I got to know about back in November of last year, so really excited to see what you've done.
Thanks, Robert. And then we have Michael on the call, McKinsey.
Hey, Martin. James, this is Mike McKenzie, a solutions consultant here with TriBridge as well. Just, again, really interested to see the solution you have here, as we've got a pretty good base in oil and gas ourselves there.
Great, thank you. And we have Herman.
Yes, good morning. This is Walter. I'm a consultant here at McGladrey LLC. I've been working with CRM Solutions for quite a few years now. We just rolled out Assistant PSA internally. I'm one of the power users here in the Denver office, so excited to see what PSA can bring to us, as well as what we can do to encourage our clients to look at PSA for their needs.
And then we have Daniel.
Yeah, good morning. I'm with the Lloyd Research Group based in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. We're really excited to see what you've done in oil and gas here, especially with Fugro being a large engineering services firm, to see what the applicability would be in the mining industry, where we've got a lot of engineering type activity, very similar to oil and gas.
Okay, great. So I think we had everybody, James, huh?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I will really go the most of the time into the solution, but just very shortly. So what we have done with PSA Suite, as you all know, and most of you know, it's of course in addition to the dynamic CRM platform, and it provides professional service automation modules. And what we have basically done, and you see this a little bit more in this concept slide, we are leveraging the standard equipment entity of dynamic CRM. So in dynamic CRM, you have a standard equipment entity, and we are leveraging that. So we did not create an extra equipment entity. So when you look at any oil and gas industry-based company, their equipment is really something that's very important for them. If you look at the Fugro case, it's all about their vessels. So basically, if they get an assignment, a project to do some survey services somewhere in the ocean, of course they need a vessel to bring their whole team, all their equipment, and the vessel itself is owned by Fugro in most cases. So their vessels are basically the most important asset and are basically leading everything, and everything is around if the vessel is available, yes or no. So what we have done with PSA module in the enterprise version of the PSA solution, we have basically leveraged equipment. We've created, in addition to the standard equipment entity of CRM, we've created equipment rates, equipment types, and equipment rate groups. And for all the people that are familiar with PSA, you can really compare that with the structure we have on the hourly rates. So basically, you can create an equipment rate group, you can put in equipment, and you have also equipment rate types. So if you look at a vessel can be in operation, can be basically sailing to the location, so on transport, or can be waiting. And on those different equipment types of rates, you have different rates. So if there is bad weather and it's waiting and it cannot be in operation, then the rate is different than when it's in operation. So it was important to have that structure in place before we can leverage that for any other part of the solution. Another thing what we did, we have created also, we have incorporated equipment in the Gantt chart. So that means you can not only schedule people, but you can also schedule equipment. And we have also incorporated equipment in the budget grid and in the sales forecast. So basically, if you now look at a project for an oil and gas services company, they can start scheduling equipment, vessels, but also other stuff, GPS, for example, or other equipment, smaller equipment. They can schedule people. They can also then basically calculate with equipment, and they can forecast, sales forecast on equipment as well and on people as well. So if you look now at a project, basically we have 3 streams of transactions going to a project that are people, equipment, and expenses. And on the expense side, what we see also in the oil and gas industry is that they have daily allowances, for example. So if a team is basically offshore, it means that that team gets a daily allowance, and the daily allowance is not really a product. It's something that's a little bit in between a product and an expense. It's basically a product or an expense with a fixed fee, and also they can calculate the number of daily allowances. They also have for, yeah?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you moved off the concept slide yet, or are you still on the slide?
No, I'm still on the slide.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is it boring?
No, I thought you had moved on. I'm sorry.
No. So we have leveraged that equipment and those daily allowances in the budget grid, in the forecast grid, and equipment and resources in the planning. Now, of course, by project, you can also create specific equipment rates and equipment daily allowances, fees or rates by project. And then we have created something that's called the resource sheet. So what you see at Fugro, because there are a lot of offshore work, so they are on a wreck somewhere in the ocean. They don't really have the people that are on the wreck. They don't do their own time entry. So they have, as they call it, a party chief. And the party chief, you can compare it in our language more with the project manager. And the party chief is basically controlling the number of resources, people, equipment, and fees that is used per day on that wreck somewhere in the ocean, and he fills that in the resource sheet. So instead of having a decentralized time entry where everybody's doing time entry, there is a control, it's a project manager or a party chief, as they call it, that will enter the usage of equipment, of fees, and of people in a very, very simple but very effective sheet. And that's what we call the resource sheet. So the resource sheet is basically, that's this part, is basically really in addition to the classic time and expense entry, time entry user interfaces that we have. So with the equipment and Fugro flavor, so to speak, we have done a lot on equipment. Equipment can be tied to budget, to forecast, and to projects. We have the resource sheet, and of course, it all comes back to the resource planning. And also, we have an overall Gantt chart. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how that works in PSA. So first of all, we are leveraging again the standard equipment. So here we find here equipment. So if I click on equipment here, we see here the standard equipment list, and it's basically the standard equipment entity of Dynamics CRM. When I click on PSA settings, we also find equipment groups. That's just to group equipment together. We have equipment types. So if you don't know which specific computer you need or which specific GPS you need, you can just say, I need a GPS, and it doesn't matter which one. I just know I need a equipment type of the type GPS. Then we have rate types, and we have rate groups, and then we have the equipment rate. So this is all the entities we've created for equipment to accommodate the whole financial structure for equipment. So if you look at the project, we have created for companies like Fucro another general form, and it's called General 2. And in General 2, we have changed the form. So here you can change the form from General to General 2. This is all packaged with standard PSA. If you have an enterprise seat, so if you are a partner, you can just demo this. But if you select General 2, you will see that we find here under your team members, your associated hour types, and your rates, you find here really now the equipment and fee section. So you can select here multiple parts of equipment. Sometimes it doesn't matter which GPS they take with them, because they have so many of those equipments that they just say, okay, we take 5 GPSs with us. And it means if you do the time entry in the resource sheet or the equipment entry in the resource sheet, you just say, I use 1 GPS, and it will automatically put that 1 GPS times 5, because he knows that you have a quantity of 5 of those equipment parts with you on that specific assignment. So that's why you have the quantity there. For a vessel, it's always 1 by default, of course. You know, vessel is very expensive. Just the waiting rate of a vessel is $45,000, just if it waits for bad weather a day. And if it's an operation, it's around $150,000 a day. So it's really, if you look at the invoices that Fucro is generating with our solution, that one invoice can be easily a couple of millions. And the invoice is also very detailed. I will talk about that a little bit later. Anyway, on the project, you add equipment. You add also, if it's applicable, specific equipment rates. So in this case, the vessel Amsterdam in operation is $15,000 a day, and the vessel Amsterdam $8,000 a day. You can also put in a rate by day, by hour, or by minute. At Fucro, they have also divers, for example, and they are paid by the minute. So if somebody's 12 minutes very deep in the sea, at let's say 600 feet or whatever, they have those special divers, then they have another rate, and if they are basically a little bit more on the surface. So that's why you can also have equipment rates not only by day but also by minute. And here you can have specific fees. So this section, equipment and fees, is really where they set up the whole contract for their engagement. And then what you will see if you go to the Gantt chart, you can now schedule and start planning equipment as well. So here we see, for example, that I do a research on field XY with vessel Amsterdam, and then first the vessel Amsterdam, I can select that this vessel is first in rate type on transport, and then from transport it starts going to, I can relate all those activities together, and then from transport it goes to operation, and then it can be that it needs to go on transport again, or that it needs to wait, and this will basically will automatically update your budget grid, and your budget grid will then calculate with those rates. So as soon as your item is an expense item, then you can only select equipment on that specific item. So because high-level design here in the development phase are, let's say, time and material or employee items, I select people here. So when I do double-click here, we see people here. But when I do double-click on an item that is identified as an equipment or expense item, then I can only see here the equipment tab. So that's how that is designed. Another thing, what is different with equipment and people, equipment doesn't have weekends. So in general, you have a setting now in PSA that your scheduling and planning is based not on 5 days but on 7 days. And that's also why, if you look at this specific, if I drag this to 10 days, we see here 10 days. If you look at a resource and you say, okay, it's always 5 days on the resource, you will say in a period of 2 weeks, you will say 8 days instead of 10 days, because it will skip the weekend, the area that's gray. For equipment, it will not skip that weekend, because equipment is of course 24/7 used in most cases, and you pay also for the weekends. So that are little tweaks, little settings, but very important when you want to schedule equipment. This equipment that I'm scheduling here is really from one project perspective, but of course it's very important for a lot of people that are scheduling, for example, the vessels, to see it in an overall Gantt chart. So we have now also in the summer release, based on the requirement of FUCRO, we have the overall Gantt chart. So now you see here resource type, so you can select, for example, all your equipment in a specific legal entity, on a specific or all legal entities, and then when I refresh this, we see the equipment that is just scheduled, and then here, instead of seeing the projects, I see the equipment. So let's collapse this. So here I see Vessel Amsterdam. And I see Vessel Amsterdam is scheduled on the project Cyber Intelligence, and on the project, in this case, Sales CRM PSA, and on another project Cyber Intelligence. So here I can see that in this case it's an operation and it's doing the research, and here it's in wait. And so I can see that this is going fine, so it's not overbooked, it's only here overbooked, so I need to make a decision here. This will be done later, and I can also do changes here directly in the overall Gantt chart and hit save, and then the changes are saved. So really, for FUCRO, that vessel is really leading. They have a lot of vessels and very expensive equipment that basically is used as basically the main element of the whole project planning. Of course, you can also see here your employees, or you can see everybody here. So this is something that's not only nice for FUCRO, but it's also nice for a lot of our clients that can see now all the activities that are scheduled by resource, and then can, let's say, drill down on David Brown, or in this case, drill down on Jan, and see that Jan is going out of budget on this specific element on the scope session because he spent more hours than budgeted. So this is something that can be used for also, of course, our normal users. So 20 hours budgeted, 23 booked actuals. This means that we have an alert here. So so here we can see equipment and people in one overall Gantt chart. That gives me also a nice view of if my equipment is not overbooked. Now, what I was telling you as well is that to do time entry, when we look at FUCRO, they have a party chief on the rig, and on that rig, that party chief is basically creating all the entries for used equipment, used employees, so to speak, and also daily allowances. And that's also automatically basically a blueprint for their invoice. So what happens is the party chief will go online to the project and will select here the resource sheet. And in the resource sheet, you have different entry modes. You can enter in decimal days, or you can enter in hours or in minutes. In this case, it's in days. And here we see that we see the resources, Bas, Mamet, we see the equipment. And what I can do here, I can just put in, let's say, and we see here the month. So this is August 13. I can say, okay, he spent 1 day on the rig. We also used this guy. We used that GPS. We used the subbase. That's a little diver, and we used and the vessel Amsterdam was an operation. And what it's doing now, it's doing time entry for Bas, for Mamet, and doing expense equipment entries for the GPS, the subbase, and the vessel. So this goes very, very fast. And we see also here directly. We see here the update of the financials. Another thing what I can do here, I can by just clicking here on the little arrow here, it copies the whole day. So let's say it's a day later and the whole team is working again on that rig and everything is fine, it's an operation. You can just hit this little arrow and it copies the whole day. This is a very efficient way of doing time entry, expense entry, and fee entry. So we have the daily allowance booked, we have the equipment booked, the vessel, we have the subbase booked, the GPS, and the 2 people in this case. Let's say we copy this to 16, but now on day 16, August 16, we were not in operation, but we were waiting because of the bad weather. We can just put a 1 here, bad weather, and then that's done. So this goes very, very, very fast. People that know PSA, you see there is no item, so you don't book on an item, but there is an entry on a project item. What will happen is that we're mapping a project, an hour type, in this case project manager, to a specific item, and that creates automatically the time entry on that specific item. So that's how that is working. Are there any questions so far? No questions? Okay, James, you can still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, we can hear you.
So now when I look at my, let's say my hours or my expenses, then we see directly all the hours that are booked by PSA based on that resource sheet. So here we see all the hours that are booked based on the resource sheet, all the PM hours that are booked for Mummet and for Bas, and it will tie back to the number of hours that a person is working per day. So if I, for example, go to the resource sheet and I want to change this in hours, entry, so I want to enter in hours instead of in days, then I can do that, and then we see all the numbers in hours instead of in days. And as you can see here in equipment, it's 24 hours, because equipment, I told you before, doesn't have a weekend or doesn't have working hours, so that's always based on 24 hours. So people have the option to enter their timesheet or resource sheet, as we call this, in days, in hours, and in minutes. Another feature of the resource sheet that is, I think, very nice is the posting feature. So if you go to the posting feature, what you can do, you can schedule automatically time entry. So you can say, okay, we expect to be on the rig, on that vessel, or on our mission, so to speak. We expect there to be until the end of 1st of October. You can put it in here, 1st of October, and then it will inherit that to all the records below. And I want to book standard 1 day, so you see all those ones here appearing. And then basically when I save this, it will create automatically all the entries for this specific period for the whole list of resources. So for the equipment, for the fees, and for the people. And this is a closed posting because you have an end date. We can also do an open posting. An open posting is server side. That means that it will automatically every day, that basically every night it will check if it's still valid, and it will create time entry, expense entry, equipment entry automatically until you uncheck the open posting. So that's basically an endless time entry, and expense and equipment entry solution, completely automated. Based on an end date or based on an action like unchecking the open posting box. So as soon as I hit save now, it will create all those entries for me, and basically and keep in mind it creates a lot of entries now, and then basically I'm done with my whole resource sheet. For Fucro, it was also important to have a forecast, and to have also a very easy way to forecast their projects. So what we have done is also on the opportunity level, you can also now forecast equipment from a financial perspective, and you can budget that, and you can forecast people, and that will basically will be inherited if you close an opportunity. So a CRM opportunity or project will inherit the forecast, the rates, etc., to the project. There is a very nice specific invoice report that almost is similar to the resource sheet, and that invoice report is also, of course, designed for Fucro, and it looks more or less exactly the same as the resource sheet that we just showed you on the project level. So basically, to finalize this, what we have done, you can now schedule equipment. You can put equipments in with specific equipment rates. It's multi-currency, so you can have specific currencies for equipment as well. Another thing what we've done for Fucro is that on the currency table of CRM, we have now a start and end date of that specific currency. Of course, what happens in a lot of cases that I'm entering now my resource sheet for the month of July, and Fucro wants to apply not the actual rates of today, but it wants to apply the rates, the currency rates that were applicable in July. So another thing that you don't really see, it's more something that is in settings and configuration, but you have now a start and end date on the standard currency table of CRM. And what we are doing is basically we have a plugin action that automatically picks up the currency, not based on today, but on the transaction date of the expense, equipment, or time entry. So that's something that is also very specific. That was very, because Fucro is a worldwide company, that's something that's very, very, very important for them as well to have that in place. Yeah, basically that's where we are at this moment with Fucro. We will do we just closed last month a global agreement with Fucro. So first we had a proof of concept and a pilot. Now we closed really the global agreement for 12,000 seats that they will deploy in the next 2.5 years. They are deploying at this moment 2,000 seats. Their project is called Avalon, and there will be a press release in a couple of, I think, a couple of days or maybe a week or two from now, depending on their approval on the press release. And that press release will be done globally, where we basically also talk about to have one global system in place for Fucro. They connect from a financial perspective, they connect with Navision. So because they have basically a local by local installation of Navision and a consolidation module that will consolidate up to the group in the headquarters here back in the Netherlands. They have around 50 companies that will be on this system, and they have a big internal group, Microsoft services, and also people from Pricewaterhouse, I think, including some assets from us, some people from us that are a part of the global team that is basically training everybody on the system and doing the rollout. And it's really a challenge, of course, to not spend 10 years on this project because there are so many people to get trained. So everything is being done online, certification, videos, and the ambition is to have all those 40, 50 companies live by the end of 2017. Any questions so far?
Yeah, Martin, this is Walter. I had a quick question. I saw that dashboard briefly. Any other kind of analytics or reporting that Fucro really was looking for when they were building out some of this in PSA?
What dashboard are you referring to?
So just any kind of analytics around their particular needs around equipment. You know, are we being efficient in scheduling equipment? Are we being efficient in scheduling our people?
Yeah, the real important overall planning and forecast sheets that they're using is the utilization sheet that is really on the resource side, the people side.
Okay.
And of course the overall Gantt chart. The overall Gantt chart will show you basically the timelines of equipment and if equipment is not overbooked. While the utilization sheet will show it from a people perspective. So let's say I'm looking for a specific resource, then I can here in the resource sheet I will see how many hours everybody is scheduled based on the Gantt chart. So and this will translate back to hours. So I see that this guy Andre is working 13 hours a day here, and that's maybe acceptable. But of course, 89 hours a day is not acceptable because there are not 89 hours in one day. So we will give indications that this is an alert red, and then you need to solve this. And then from here you can drill down and see where's the problem, and then you can solve it. So basically during scheduling, a lot of resource managers will look at the resource sheets before they assign an activity or task to a specific group of resources. And another thing what is interesting to see here is that it's also important for them to see where their resources are located. So we created an integration with Bing Maps that will show me the address of the project. In this case, it's a project in New York, and will show me the resources. So in this case, this guy is the closest to the project, and here those guys are in Europe, so that's maybe not the most smart move. Besides address location, we also have altitude and basically the GPS coordinates, and they put them on their vessels and on their rigs. So on a project doesn't have an address in most cases, but they have a specific GPS location, and then they can see where their people are with the integration with the Bing Maps. And with their GPS system, they are feeding those locations live in our database. So as soon as people click on Bing Maps, they see directly the actual location of their vessel. Last but not least, this translates all to the forecast, of course. And the forecast is really will give them not a perspective on the availability of your resources or the utilization of your equipment, but it will be gives you a perspective of the hard dollar amounts that you expect per month, and this is automatically filled in by the Gantt chart and can be modified as well. And what's new in the summer release is that you can also include here not only your project but also your opportunities. So in standard CRM opportunities, you can also now forecast on the opportunity. So if you have an opportunity in CRM, this is standard CRM. Now they can already, if they do a research on oil field J, they can directly go from the opportunity here directly in our sales forecast and forecast this opportunity, and this will then be displayed in the overall forecast as well.
Martin, what about licensing? How is this licensed?
It's a part the just scheduling equipment and this whole part is basically a part of our professional license. So you need basically, and we have created also in the new PSA website license matrix. We have made it very clear, so here you can see that. So the project planning with the Gantt chart and the resource planning utilization sheet, etc., is all a part of the basic sheet. Also, you can then do equipment scheduling. That's not a problem. But the resource entry sheet that is typical created is a part, I think, of a professional or maybe enterprise. If you go to this website, Assistance PSA/licenses, you can download the full license matrix, and here you find everything in detail. But it's basically a whole part of the PSA suite. But I think for the resource sheet, where you can basically directly enter equipment fees and people, you need, I think what we said, we need to have an enterprise. Yes, see a resource sheet per project for hours, you need to have an enterprise sheet there. So for example, when you look at the deal with Fugro, of those 12,000 people, 10,000 people are basically just working on the rigs and on the vessels, and they don't do time entry themselves, so they need only for 2,000 people the enterprise seat, and the other 10,000 people they will only use an essential seat on the CRM side and on the PSA side.
So then each piece of equipment is an essentials license. No. Oh, okay.
No, equipment is really it's not the user. Equipment is really equipment. So okay. if you look in CRM today without PSA, you find there in settings equipment, right. And that's what we're leveraging.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm very familiar with that. Okay, great.
Yeah. So if you look at the deal we did with Fugro, approximately they bought 10,000 essential seats and 2,000 enterprise seats. So only the people that are the party chiefs, project managers that are controlling the project and are entering the resources on the resource sheet and doing the planning and scheduling, etc., they need a full enterprise seat in their case. Is that clear, Robert?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so what I like to do now, if there are no questions anymore, I like to just do a little round of feedback. What you guys think about equipment scheduling, budgeting, forecasting, the resource entry sheet, where you then enter the equipment and the resources, the people, and the fees in one sheet. That's a different way of doing entry of time and expenses and equipment. So yeah, let's start with you, Robert. I see you're the first one here on my list. So what is your feedback here?
I like it a lot. I can see its application even beyond Fugro. There are other organizations out there that need to schedule other resources such as rooms and other things that are not currently accounted for that I think would be very beneficial.
Yeah, that's nice that you say that. We showed this McClattery, a project we're doing together with Tribridge, and what Marcy said to us is that when she saw that it would also be a great review tool for the project managers. So everybody will do time entry in the classic timesheet, but then the project manager will come in to the project, go to the resource sheet, and will basically have a report of everything that's utilized and used. And that's why we're gonna build an approve button here as well. So you can from here do a PM approval, and then when it's approved, because this will just create hours in the hour entity and expense in expense entity. So we do nothing new here, but then this gives a nice view, and you can maybe do some corrections here as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Keep
in mind that if you do time entry, also when you do it for other users, that you still need to have an essential license. So it's not that if you do time entry for other users that user needs to have a seat, because the whole business logic and the picking up the rate, etc., is done on the user level. You still need to have a user.
Absolutely.
Okay, Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, Martin, it looks great. To Robert's point, too, I definitely see some application of this even outside of the oil and gas industry. To your point, though, when you said that they can actually use this to make changes, is it going to pull in time cards or time records for individuals who have already submitted time so that they can do this as an overall view?
Yeah. If you do time entry in your normal timesheet, then if you go here, you see it calculates back to days. But if you change this, of course, in hours, you will see the hours, and we basically take the number of hours that an individual is working. So on the PSA, usually you set up how many hours a day somebody's working. So if you put in, in this case, if you would put in 1 day, it gives you 8 hours, but it could also give you 7.6.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah, great functionality. I mean, across the board, definitely being able to set up. It's just a great add-on to be able to set up and add equipment and resourcing together, because this gives you your full scope and visibility into the project forecast.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks, Michael. Daniel, any feedback from you?
Great looking product. I agree with everybody else's comments. I think there's lots of applications for this. Definitely in the mining industry. I think the mining engineers are doing the exact same thing that your friends here at Fugro are doing. And also I'm wondering about, there's some industrial temp staffing agencies that I think this might fit right inside their portfolio nicely, especially the time entry, the time collection.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to of course set it up with a breakdown structure that's familiar for that specific industry, so they can relate to it. That makes a world of a difference. As just a side comment for everybody, if you have a prospect or a lead, we are of course completely available for you guys to set up a demo and to help you with the first demos with the equipment and with the scheduling of equipment and forecasting and the resource entry sheet. There are some settings that are need to be done before you can use some stuff. So we have James is available in the States, and I am available in Europe for giving you full support there. Herman, any feedback from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely appreciate the graphical look at the scheduling of resources and people and equipment. That's powerful across any industry, as we can see. I do have some clients that have been asking specifically for their sales staff just to view into what their operations are doing so that they can get a better feel for what they can schedule out in the future. So common problem, but I think they can definitely take a look at something like this and to see the value in it.
Okay, perfect. Another little thing that we changed is that you have now lag time. So you can put in, if you have a pre-accessory, you can put in lag time, in this case of 4 days. So whenever you move this, it will always keep 4 days as lag. That's also important for if something goes on transport, for example, you have some lag time to set up stuff. So that's also something, a little thing that's changed, but important for equipment especially. Okay, guys. I want to thank you so much for your time and for rejoining this postponed webinar with all the technical issues we had, especially for Canada and the States. Again, James, maybe you can make sure that with the follow-up email they know where to reach you if they not already know where you are. If you have any questions or you have a lead or a prospect or we need to help you set it up or set up a great demo, please reach out to us, and we're more than happy to do that. We're getting now Fucro on we're doing some videos with Fucro, so they're very referenceable. There will be a press release, so that's a great lighthouse account to basically explore at least the oil and gas industry and the services that are provided there. And of course, if you see any application for this beyond the oil and gas industry, be creative and set it up the way you think it's the best for your client. So thank you, guys, and have a great weekend already. And
thank you, Martin.
We speak to you later. Thanks.
Right.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.